This Voice of San Diego podcast is sponsored by Manolatus Nelson Murphy, Advertising and Public Relations. M&M brings decades of experience and their vast network to you. The firm develops insightful strategies and cost-effective tactics to help clients achieve their goals and connect to those who matter most. M&M specializes in media relations, community engagement, crisis communications, and cross-platform marketing. Learn more at mnmadpr.com.
One of the things I love about being part of a nonprofit news organization is that when we need them, we can call on some volunteers to come help us. And Rita Schmidt-Sudman is here in studio. She's been helping stuff envelopes. She's helped manage events. She's done so much for us over the year. And I just wanted to bring her in to say thanks, but also get to know you a little bit. Rita, you have a background behind the mic, huh?
I do. Well, I started out in my early career, believe it or not, at Channel 8 here in town. And worked with some of the folks like Bob Dale. This really goes back. And it was a young girl. Got married, moved to Sacramento, started in public radio, and then found my way to covering water in the West. And I thought that that's an issue that I would be around that for a year or so.
Yeah, dreadful, right?
Because I could learn it and it would be boring. And 34 years later, I built a foundation, nonprofit, and a lot of support as a journalist with journalists working with me and for me, and covering all these water issues in the West. And I just want to say, you scratch water. I mean, there's politics, there's murder, there's money, there's the greatest stories in California history, and the West is about water.
Yeah, and you followed the work of Ry Rivard, who was here.
Ry was when he got started, and I kind of helped him get going, and then he's just fabulous, and I was so sorry to see him leave, but I have to tell you, I know he'll come back to California and to the West. He's now getting the Eastern take on water, which is totally different. It's about water quality.
Yeah.
It rains back in the East.
Yeah, for now.
Unlike here. So I think we'll get Ry back. But I know that Voice of San Diego, and the reason that I'm volunteering for it, is that you will get another good water reporter. I've just been really impressed by the work you do. And when I came back to this town now, after being gone all these years, I looked around and thought, where could I help? And I decided that, in the time we're in now, whatever your politics are, journalism is really good. Journalism is so important, and you guys do it, and that's why I'm willing to give you some of my time.
That's what I mean. It means a lot to have people like Rita who come and do that for us. I find it moving. She also gave me some advice. We took it this morning, but thank you so much. And if you are out there and you want to help us, make sure we can pay for that new reporter to come in and at least replace, in a way, what Ry did, and in different ways as well.
And I want to say, we have a lot of fun here. So folks come in, donate to us, but then if you do, want to do a little more and help us, we can have a good time and we can work for a good cause.
Awesome. Thanks so much. It was great hearing from you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Voice of San Diego podcast in partnership with News Radio 600 Kogo. My name is Scott Lewis. I'm the CEO and editor-in-chief at Voice of San Diego. I'm joined, as always, by assistant editor Andrew Keats. Hello.
Hey, Scott.
And managing editor Sara Libby.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Good.
Fine. Coming up on the show this week, drama in Escondido. You rarely see someone pull their endorsement of a candidate and then give it to a rival. But you saw that this week. Also, the Shermanator is in, or is he, in the mayor's race in San Diego, the city of San Diego. We have an update on that race and the latest chapter in the saga surrounding Congressman Duncan Hunter. Is it over? Is he done? We'll have all of that. But first, my office is next to Sarah's, and it's just been like a constant sort of low-level giggle for the last couple of days. What has
Try
got
to keep
you?
it under control.
So CityBeat is the target of it.
Yeah, so I can't
Well set up, Scott.
I can't stop thinking about this gift guide. It's completely consumed me. So our contributor, Kelly Davis, tweeted some excerpts from the San Diego CityBeats local holiday gift guide.
Yeah, so they've done it every year. It's always like an an alternative, look at the city and what you can get people.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the ex-staffers were very proud of their work
Yes.
with this guide every year. And this year, the entity has been completely, gutted.
Yes.
New ownership, and they have a new gift guide.
They do. So,
Sort of.
specifically, the passage that Kelly tweeted. So it tells you that malls exist
Do they?
and that the malls contain stores
Mm-hmm.
and that the stores contain goods that
Yeah.
you can purchase as gifts.
We'll call them items.
Can
There are
give me the
malls.
raw stuff. I want to
Okay.
hear the raw.
For example, Fashion Valley Mall offers shops such as Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus.
Hey,
Westfield UTC Shopping Center has a Bloomingdale's outlet store and various dining choices.
now this is particularly up your alley because you like malls.
So I love
You may like
malls.
malls more than
let's be
any-
clear. I'm like, obviously CityBeat folk and the people who adore them were upset that, there weren't local craftsmen and boutiques and things highlighted in
Yeah.
what should appear in a local gift guide. I happen to love malls, and I'm not upset about being told to shop in Nordstrom. However, first of all, there is no Bloomingdale's outlet at the UTC, and how dare you suggest that UTC shoppers are looking for an outlet? Know your audience. But there are good stores at the mall. You could say their names.
It just seems very clear to me that the amount of research available for that article was
It's-
just
A map.
just a list, just the directory.
Yeah,
And not
no.
even, and an out-of-date directory, apparently.
Yeah, so I ended up going back and reading the whole thing, and wow. Here.
Surely
Here's
they talk
here's
about
my
some local
favorite-
neighborhoods that we could go to.
Yeah, well, here's my favorite line, I think, or two lines. You'll be amazed by what you can find in places such as Hillcrest and North Park.
That's it.
No
Period.
elaboration. I
Period.
don't
End of
know
sentence.
what you can find.
Well, you'll be amazed.
You'll be amazed. And also,
To reveal it now would be to blunt the amazement.
Hillcrest and North Park are places. There's
Yeah.
no arguing with that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then finally, maybe get your Italian on in Little Italy. Again, no elaboration on what that would entail.
And as an Italian,
That was a writer who was confident that Little Italy has at least some passing relationship with Italian culture.
Yeah.
There you go.
And as an Italian, I'm offended a little bit.
Well, what would you say getting your Italian on entails?
I don't know. I don't know, but you wouldn't say that about other ethnicities, I don't think. I don't know why that's the liberty. Okay,
Watching
so you can
Sopranos
just picture.
and eating spaghetti.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, actually sounds awesome.
You
Good
can't.
business idea.
You can picture exactly what's happened. Some poor bastard
Yeah.
in Arizona was given 35 minutes to write the holiday gift guide for a town
They've
he or
never
she
been to.
has never been to, and is looking at a map. And there's this neighborhood called Little Italy, and they're like,
All right.
"Let's get our Italian on
I
there."
can even provide some details about that place.
There's probably even like a form they fill out. It says inner ethnicity.
Yes.
Get it on inner food and have fun. Buy things. It's
There
fantastic.
you go. What things? Who's to say? Certainly, we can't tell you in a gift guide.
Can you read me the North Park Uptown sentence again, please? I need to hear that one again. So
You'll be
abrupt.
amazed by what you can find in places such as Hillcrest and North Park.
Which they're fortunate
And
that,
how.
that you would be amazed
no,
at what you can find.
They have things to find, and they are places.
It's lucky that they didn't do that for like
Rancho Bernardo.
You'll be amazed.
Walkable shopping options abound in Rancho Bernardo.
Okay. Well, so check it out. The CityBeat gift guide is riding high. I'm glad they didn't go too far with that. Like you can get high in City Heights. Or...
Yeah. Lots of options.
All right. So it was a shock to a lot of local political watchers last year when Escondido Mayor Sam Abed was defeated in the election by Paul McNamara, Escondido's current mayor, a Democrat. And one of the people most excited about that was at that time the only Democrat on the city council, Olga Diaz. Now, she was cry happy. She was very happy about that news, right? And she, supported him, worked for him, helped him, and then he, in turn, endorses her in her big run for county supervisor, the most important race, I think, in the region this year.
Glad I drafted it.
Yeah, that's right. You drafted that one. And so, big, important race. And then this week, or last week, we do a profile about McNamara, new mayor, how's it going? And she's quoted in it saying, yeah, he's kind of unpredictable. What else did she say?
Unpredictable because of a variable level of depth on any given topic.
Given issue, yeah.
Which is
so, that one stings a little. I don't think being unpredictable is something you would necessarily be offended by. You would probably relish it.
Yeah, people have staked their whole political career on that identity.
Absolutely.
Sure. But whether it was that or not, was it Monday or Tuesday morning, we got a note from Tara Lawson-Remer, who's running against Olga Diaz in that race. They're both vying to be the Democrat to face off against Kristen Gaspar, the incumbent in the race for the future of the Board of Supervisors, what party controls it. And Tara Lawson-Remer announces that Paul McNamara has switched from Olga Diaz to support her. And wow, I have never seen. I've seen people drop their endorsement if the guy was accused of something horrible, or
Kristen Gaspar, for example.
Yeah, she did that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, or I've seen a few things but I've never seen somebody flip like that with no specific reason,
right?
And then go right for the rival.
Yeah, there was no announcement per se that he was unendorsing Olga. It was just an announcement that I now endorse Tara Lawson-Remer.
Yeah, and she's great. She's very knowledgeable, which it's
praised her for being a lifelong resident.
Oh,
which I guess is Olga not? I don't know where Olga was born and raised.
Oh, I don't know. So,
but it seemed like it was added intentionally to draw a distinction.
Well, anyway, so we racked our brains. We tried to figure out. There was a sort of, last time around in 2018, Nathan Fletcher's running against Bonnie DeMantis, and the deputy sheriff switched sides. But that was pretty clearly like a calculated, Nathan Fletcher's going to win this race. Let's get on the winning team thing.
Yeah, I would just say they endorsed Bonnie before the primary and then unendorsed after the primary. So at least something had changed.
Right.
Something had taken place. Absolutely nothing has happened since the start of this campaign, really.
So we asked him, he was not available to comment on why. Tara Lawson-Remer told us that, he's been actually supporting her in a mild way for some time, and it's just kind of completed the deal. Okay, on to the mayor's race. You ran into Councilman Scott Sherman. So last week, he pulled papers to run for mayor. So we thought, my goodness, this means he is actually going to run for mayor. And
typically that's why you pull papers.
The analysis started flowing, but then his political consultant clarified that, whoa, he's just trying to keep his options open.
Mm-hmm.
And you ran into him today at City Council.
Yep.
Did you get a final answer?
Yeah, so I says to him, Councilman Sherman. Councilman Sherman, are you running for mayor?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yes.
The word yes.
Yeah. He said, done deal. And he did a smirk that anyone who's talked to Scott Sherman will be familiar with and said, done deal.
Yeah. So he's running for
He's
mayor.
running.
So a major Republican in San Diego is running for mayor now.
Yes. Scott Sherman is running for mayor.
And he said why?
Said he intends to ensure that his perspective on housing and development is reflected in the mayor's race. And
Is it fair to say he's like the clearest of, if there is such a thing as a YIMBY, he's the clearest one?
It's his requires no caveats. When there's a question about whether you should build housing for him, the answer is yes.
Interesting.
More of it would be better. And yes. So yeah, I think, yeah. So that's what he said. And he said there would be an official announcement today. So while we're recording here, that might have gone out.
So my take is that this is bad news for Barbara Bree.
That's certainly the conventional wisdom, which I don't mean derisively. But
Well, so here's the take. So if he doesn't get anything together, he doesn't raise any money, he doesn't do a very good job like organizing the Republican Party around him, maybe not. But if he does get the Republican Party to really mobilize for him, if he can be identified as the Republican choice, if he can pull some of those things, get a minimal amount of money together, then there's certainly no dominant majority of Republicans in town, but there's a lot still. There's still Republicans, and having them all line or having them united behind him, and having Labor and the Democratic Party behind Todd Gloria, along with the Chamber of Commerce and other people. You have a situation where Barbara Bree becomes the Nathan Fletcher of this race. So in Fletcher in 2012 and again in 2016 or 2014.
13.
Well, 13 to 14, yeah. He was running in the primary of the mayor's race. He was opposed by both Labor on the left and Democratic Party on the left, and then the Republicans and the Lincoln Club on the right. And they were able to keep him out of the runoff election both times. And it feels like, Barbara Bree is even maybe a little less resourced than he is in that state, right?
I still feel like those are big ifs, though, because I think that there are enough factors to really shake up how support might fall. I mean, we saw Barbara Bree get the chamber endorsement. She got Father Joe's endorsement this week, who he typically supports Republican candidates.
Wait, so Todd Gloria got the chamber.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. But I also think that like her issues with scooters and vacation rentals are likely to peel off some people who might be inclined to support a Republican.
Yeah.
And so it just seems like it's messy enough that it could shake out a lot of different ways.
There's one group I'll be watching, I think, closely, the Lincoln Club. So that was a group that trained its fire intensely on Nathan Fletcher in both 2012 and 2013. When he was running, those ads were brutal, and they had a major impact on him being able to make it through the primary. At the same time, you had people who were working for Carl DeMaio going after Nathan Fletcher to try to help Bob Filner get through the primary as well, because they wanted to face him in that 2012 election. And so I think
Jason Rowe once said that they ran the campaign for Filner that he was incapable of running himself.
Right. And so the Lincoln Club will be really interesting to watch, because there's a couple major figures in the Lincoln Club, Tom Sudbury, the developer, who really like Barbara Bree. And so will they try to boost her, or is, Sherman's entry to the race something that'll disrupt that?
The thing I caution is just that one thing that local races have shown us lately is that these are low ID or low information, low name ID races. And so I think it's just healthy to build in quite a bit more uncertainty into all of our expectations. I don't see any particular flaw in your analysis. The only thing I would do is just build in a large margin of error purely on the basis that most people who vote in this race don't know that much about any of these candidates.
Totally fair. I'm just saying I don't see any version of how it's good for Barbara Bree.
Yeah, I mean, I could fashion an argument, but I don't it's not something I'd want to stand behind.
Yeah.
It just in terms of messiness, I don't know. Maybe
I think
it's another man on that ballot, right?
Right,
You know,
that's
like,
true.
who knows?
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting parts is if
He's
the Republican
he's a
Party,
city councilman. I don't know. Who knows?
if the Republican Party really is able to put him on all the things they send out that say, here's our choice for District 7, here's our choice for this, and here's Scott Sherman for mayor.
Yeah.
That can't hurt.
Right.
So
And those are areas that you would, if Barbara Burry has the campaign strategy that we think she has based on the campaign she's run, I think she's expecting to win a lot of right-leaning independent and Republican voters in the north of 8, and that is where Joe Leventhal will be running for city council, where Noli Zosa will be running for city council, and so yeah, just getting Scott Sherman's name on all of those mail pieces in all of those Republican voters' inboxes would just on its own could eat away at some of her margins where she would hope to do well.
let's talk about his policies. So he did join with David Alvarez, kind of notoriously a couple of years ago to support housing reforms.
Mm-hmm.
Housing, he really did start to elevate as his main focus. The idea of the major way to address the affordability crisis is to allow for building in as many different places as possible to support smart growth. And he's not shying away from that at all for electability purposes.
No, he told me that'll be the focus of his campaign.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing to follow if you like reading articles about from around the country on pro-development policies.
Sure.
Scott Sherman's Twitter feed.
Really?
He's got a good little tip sheet.
Really?
Yeah.
Like all the think tanks and stuff
All
like
the
that?
think tanks and
Will it give
publications from all over the country.
Will it give the lefty YIMBY Dems any pause?
I don't think so,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. One thing that this has settled, though, Scott Sherman once again has confirmed that he's a politician.
He is. As is Barbara Burry.
So Barbara Burry has the signs all over that say a problem solver, not a politician. He's famously said repeatedly, I'm not a politician. The bottom line is they're both politicians.
They're both elected city council members who are running for the office of mayor.
Both of those offices have in common being political.
Can I add another little point here? She says, I'm a problem solver, not a politician. Well, wouldn't political skills in a political office be the way that you solve the problems?
Who's to say?
Wouldn't you want to be like, I'm a great politician. That's how I solve the problem. So Congressman Duncan Hunter has finally pleaded guilty to conspiracy to use campaign contributions as his own personal source of income. It was a long saga. Hunter and his wife were wrapped up in a campaign fund spending scandal. Eventually, details came out that they were about how they were using the money. They were accused of misusing more than $250,000 for all kinds of things, restaurants, ski rendezvous, bunnies on airplanes, private schools,
Vacations,
Costco,
Some white shit.
lots of white stuff. So he could face up to 5 years, but there was rather dramatic sentencing guideline sort of recommendations from the prosecutors that will make that much less, it seems like, unless the judge really rejects their advice. But he probably will go behind the bars. We'll see, maybe a little bit.
His interview with KUSI was incredibly vague, but it seemed like he was conceding that he would serve jail time. If you listen to what he's saying, because he essentially said he really hoped that his wife wouldn't serve jail time because he thought his kids deserved to have a parent in the home, which seems like an admission that he won't be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, Donald Trump is obviously going to pardon him, so.
You think?
There's that.
Or commute it?
Or commute the sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we don't know exactly what he's waiting for. He has not resigned. There is a theory that he could be holding out to wait till after the nomination period when people submit their candidacies so that there is no special election, because if you were to resign right now, before the nomination period closes, there would have to be a special election to cover the period between now and when the new person takes the office. Or if they wait another week or so, then it could go for another year empty. And so we don't know if there's going to be a special election, but all in all, the fact that he probably won't run again seems like bad news for the Democrat. That seems like the Democrats, this is the most conservative district in the state. And so for a Democrat to win, they kind of needed somebody who was under like the worst accusations there, right?
Yeah, I think the safe version of their path to victory was somehow Duncan Hunter gets through despite being under indictment, and then they have a one-on-one matchup with a very vulnerable candidate.
And can we do a special Hero of the Week for Morgan Cook?
Yes.
So how long ago was it? 4 years ago?
April 2016.
April 2016, she breaks a not large story about questions about how he's spending his money. Prosecutors see that and end up investigating. And finally, after years and years of being attacked as fake news, conspiracy, all this stuff.
I can't tell you how many, he doesn't do a lot of public events, Duncan Hunter, but when he'd appear at chamber lunches and stuff, he would make so many offhand derogatory comments about the Union Tribune, about how they were biased in attacking him. And it was solely because of this work that Morgan Cook was doing. And now he's pleading guilty and essentially admitting that, it was all right.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, the reason why this is bad is you don't want people to be able to put money into politicians' pockets, right? That's why you don't want them to buy ski vacations for them or otherwise make their lives easier monetarily. And that's why you're not supposed to use campaign dollars for private uses. There's actually 3 areas, governance, campaigning, or legislative issues that you can spend that money on. And it's supposed to be protected that way. And that's why that's so important, because otherwise if somebody gives you $1,000 to your campaign and you go and take a trip with that, they've bought you a trip.
Yeah. It does get a little squirrely around debt retirement.
Yeah. Well, if that's the one way you can legally get money into your pocket is if you lend your campaign money and then you pay it back with contributions, then they're literally putting money in your pocket. So yes, it's not a clean system. It's not easily understood, but that's the principle at stake here. And when he said, "Oh, it's a mistake," it wasn't a mistake. He took the money and used it for stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the very beginning of this, they were going with some version of campaign file, we misfiled some stuff. This was not misfiling.
Was it like a credit card mix-up?
Yeah,
I think he initially said that his kids used the credit card.
Right.
And then at various points it was his wife's fault and then it was a mistake. And
so now we know he was knowingly and intentionally spending money that was given to his campaign to support his luxurious lifestyle.
Thanks for listening to the Voice of San Diego podcast, the most popular political affairs podcast recorded in downtown San Diego. If you like this podcast and want to support us, now is the time to do that. We need you, please, to step up. Join Voice of San Diego during our fundraising campaign. All of the things we do, all the stories, all the podcasts, everything that you follow requires resources. Go to vosd.org/give. vosd.org/give and make a contribution. Even a few bucks helps our numbers in all kinds of ways. I'm Scott Lewis, CEO and editor-in-chief. Andrew Keats is assistant editor. Sara Libby is managing editor. And this show is produced by Nate John, Megan Wood, and Adriana Heldies. We'll talk to you next week.